Thank you. We'll call the May 5, 2025 integrated Board of Public Works and Safety to order at 5:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mr. Rutherford.
Here.
We have two sets of minutes for consideration. The first one is for our April 7, 2025 meeting. Is there any corrections or additions from staff? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval of presented?
Second.
For the discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Our second session for consideration is April 21, 2025. Same question from staff. Hearing none, is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
For the discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. First on our agenda is Mayfest at Fisher Homes, Patrick Reese. Mr. Reese?
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Hello, good evening.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
That's a request for some road closure. Tell us what we're doing here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you can see there. If I may perhaps share my screen, that could possibly help.
Please.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Should have two cul-de-sacs. This is a map of Brighton Knoll, right off of April Drive here. Our model home sits here on lot 2. We have a cul-de-sac street here, of course, and then another one here. Basically, I've put together a community event. It's free admission. The only thing that'll benefit us is just exposure and awareness of our community for all the folks that attend. But I've put together some live music, food truck, Kona Ice is coming out, and some fun activities for kids as well. If folks want to tour our model home while they're there, that's great. But otherwise, I pretty much just made it so that people can come and hang out, have a good time. A couple other items I've arranged for Fire Station 93 to come out with a fire truck, and another homeowner works for the police department coming out with a car, and then I've arranged like a tractor, excavator, cement truck. So kind of like a fun experience for the community, adults, kids. Preferably would love to have this court, Gateway Court, closed just for pedestrian use, because the idea is that lots 1 and 16 here are currently empty, vacant lots, and we'll have the live music playing here on lot 16, and food truck and situation going over here on lot 1, and face painter, got some foam party people coming in along here. And where I sent in a message with Ty, I believe, was potentially shutting down April Drive just from like Christopher Court here to just past Gatwick Court here. And that would just be to allow for like the police department and fire department to like park their trucks and cars along April Drive here. And also just kind of help with parking as well. I do believe Ty said that April Drive would not be preferred to shut down. Looking at the Google Maps here, as long as it's still open from April Drive up to Bennington, all these folks are able to come and go as they please here. All the folks here would be able to exit out to Honey Creek as well. And then just shutting it down to Christopher Court, everybody here on Heatherwood would still be able to exit east on April Drive. So just having this shut down for 4 hours, 4 to 8 p.m. on Sunday, is the main request. It would just be really helpful.
Can you point to that, Patrick, that's exact on that, where the closure of, where are these two cul-de-sacs that I kind of lost track now?
Yep. So here's the main one. That dot right there is where the model home is. So the main congregation would occur just about right here. Shutting this down, there's like 5 homeowners on this cul-de-sac. They're all fine with it. I've already spoken to them, but closing that's just so folks can walk back and forth freely down this cul-de-sac without worrying about any cars. But I think for just safety purposes and also just allowing for ample parking and space for the fire department, police department, tractors just to park on April Drive would be ideal. So right here at Bennington Court, maybe a barricade so folks can't enter through there. And then another one here at Christopher Court so folks can't enter through there. Or actually, I mean, it could even be right here at Knoll Court.
Anything to add on this?
No, this isn't exactly.
I mean, it's different. I'm seeing different things from what.
Yeah, I think the additional request was from Knoll to Gateway.
Yeah, this is Knoll. This is Gatwick, which would essentially be this little strip. Effectively, if we're doing that, then I'm, this is just extra road right here. So we go to from here to here. Not a difference.
Chief, you have any thoughts? If you put you on the spot. right?
Well, no, this has not come to my attention. However, I think my only question would be traffic control. What type of traffic control do they have in place?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have some concerns about a complete shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
What hours are you wanting to shut it down?
4 to 8 p.m. Sunday.
Probably as good a time as any to do it.
That's what I thought.
I think I would recommend them hire police officers
How about parking?
to do that.
They want to park on the street.
Yeah, that's what would be super beneficial is then we could allow parking on April Drive. Otherwise, parking will be resorted to maybe parking along Gatwick Drive down this way or all the way over here on Christopher Court, making the trip over to the actual event itself quite a hike.
I'm not a fan of closing it down completely.
You have parking even on one side of that street. It's a narrow street. It's not a major. It's not as wide as April is on the
Especially
other
if you use
east.
apparatus is going to be down there or something like that. Anybody else have any thoughts here? Ty?
One thing is, if the closure is kept just to Christopher to Knoll, that would require officers to be stationed at those points. If they just closed the Gateway Court, they could probably just do that with barricades since it's not a through street. My big concern with having that road closed is any sort of emergency response having to go through the neighborhood. Now, hopefully nothing like that would happen, but something always have to keep in mind when we go about closing a street. There are no direct detours if someone's moving east-west to bypass this closure.
Yeah. That section of April Drive actually didn't exist until about a year and a half ago. Um, meanwhile, all these communities did exist. So I believe the construction of that strip of April Drive, the sole purpose was just because of Brighton Knoll. So I'm sure prior to that existence, Cutsinger Road was used here, and Smith Valley Road right here.
Personally, this is Chief Ice of the Grant Police Department. Like I said, this is all new to me. I haven't seen any of the plans for this or been consulted. However, it's going to take a complete road closure if you're going to have an event like this and you're going to park people on April Drive, because you're going to have a lot of pedestrian traffic going back and forth. And that April Drive thoroughfare is already being used as a cut through quite often. Brief to Averitt Road. So I think if you're going to do it, the only way to do it would be to have a complete road closure, and they would be required to have police officers do that. They would have to hire them on an off-duty.
Okay, I think that would be fine. One of the homeowners that's in Brighton Knoll, that's helping me with this process actually is I don't know if he used to work in Greenwood. He's the chief of police for U of Indy though. And I think he could definitely help be of assistance there. He's actually the one that connected me with Ty. I mean, it's not a big deal if we can't do it, if it doesn't seem worth it. That's okay. I would probably, like you said, probably wouldn't be feasible in that case. I think you're right. Like, we need the full road closure, just for, in my opinion, general safety. But I mean, it's solely just for the community, and for us gaining awareness. So.
Sounds like a nice community event, probably appropriate marketing for Brighton Homes community. But we've got to further our thoughts about public safety.
Yep.
I guess we close it with that section. Accommodate that. It's not like there's going to be cars parked there that can't get.
People driving down there and then having to turn around to go back. I think it's a nice idea. It's a nice neighborhood. I walk over there a couple times a week. That street's not very wide. If you get some police, fire trucks there, police cars, fire trucks, and people parking, and that critical.
And you would have to, like I said, close the street. Police officers would man those closures, and then they would only be allowed to park on one side of the street. We would have to put signs up, parking on the opposite side. It can be done, whether you want that or not, but it can be done, but for safety purposes, there's too much pedestrian traffic to not close that section of April Drive.
Yep.
With both ends of the closure, they could require that there be parking only on one side of the street.
And they'd have to walk a few blocks to get there.
Well, yeah, we would just we have no parking signs by order of the Greenwood Police Department. We would put them out there on stakes. The street department sets those out, and the officers would be there to control that. But yeah, you couldn't have parking on both sides.
Chief, who in your sort of handles those things?
Officer Grable, he's our public relations officer. He organizes all the special event plans.
But I was thinking maybe we could share with Jason what we're thinking about, make certain he's comfortable with the closure, make certain they have the right officers to maybe a burden to you guys, more than what you planned, but at least let you do it, is delegate to Mr. Grable.
What kind of a crowd do you foresee?
Yeah, that's hard to gauge. We throw events maybe every other month, and it's usually maybe, hey, come by our model home and get some free food. We'll have a food truck or something catered. This is only the second event that I'll have here in Brighton Knoll. The first one was in January, and maybe 30, 40 people stopped by over a span of 4 or 5 hours. For something like this, I don't know. I'm estimating maybe 100, 150. I didn't put out any mailers or anything like that. I'm, going to invite the nearby neighbors. And I've created a Facebook event to just kind of gauge interest. There seems to be a good amount of interest. I couldn't imagine more than 200. That's probably being optimistic.
How do you guys feel about approving the closure? I'm going to make this motion, we'll see. We approve the closure. Well, there have to be police officers hired to do that. Have parking limited to one side of the street.
Okay.
And then you do all that in conjunction with Officer Jason Grable of the Greenwood Police Department, who handles those kind of things and makes certain things are done that way. And he may ask his chief, what did they talk about? And Chief Tyson can tell him. So that'll be my motion.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You have my deepest appreciation. Thank you. And you're all invited, of course.
Did you say the food trucks were free?
Perhaps for a few select guests. Yeah.
No, we can't do that. We'd like to, but we can't. Okay. Thanks, man.
The band is the Sax Pistols. They're the 6-piece jazz 80s, 90s cover rock and roll cover band. So I think they should be a good time. They play at Ale Emporium quite a bit. So
sounds like fun. Okay.
All right. I don't know if we covered that part. Ty mentioned the noise waiver. Is that covered as well? Or
you're going from 4 to 8?
Yes, correct.
Is there any problem with the 8 o'clock time?
That's no problem.
Yeah. We'll add that to the motion, that it will be the noise ordinance for that extra hour will be granted.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good one. I'm good to go, correct?
You're good to go.
How should I get in contact with Officer Grable? Sorry.
Just call the Greenwood Police Department and ask them for.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, and if you work with Ty will help you.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Next on our agenda is David Hewitt. Evangelistic outreach to Greenwood Pride for June 7th activities. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Hewitt. I am one of the pastors of Aletheia Church on the south side of Indianapolis. We're on Madison Avenue, 7816, just north of Stockwell Road. This is my fellow pastor, James Farrar, and our church is known for doing a lot of evangelistic outreaches. We do public ministry using amplification, preaching the gospel, street corners, parking lots, grocery stores on the south side of Indy fairly regularly. And we've done so at the Indianapolis Pride event for several years. This last year, we were wishing to do so with our voice amplification to preach the gospel into the Greenwood Pride event. Was notified by the Assistant Chief of Police to do so, and to be in agreement with City Code, and we would need a noise ordinance waiver to do so. So in a nutshell, that's what we're here to do this evening, to secure that, so we can set up some amplification equipment to broadcast gospel preaching into Woodman Park while the Pride event is going on, instead of the Crescent Drive, north of April Drive, on the south side of Woodman Park, in the public areas there on the sidewalk or the easement area.
Okay, so tell me again where this is. Is it Crescent Drive?
Crescent Drive is north of April Drive. It's not too far from US 31. Well, there you go. And that is where we would set up. We would not set up in anybody's yard before, so we put ourselves in the small space along the sidewalk or in the area in between the park itself and the homeowner's property, with a couple of speakers so we can point them into the event and proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, preach the gospel of the creature. Jesus tells us in Mark 16. So to read the creatures in the back, we've got to have a little bit more volume than my voice can carry.
You want me to zoom out? You want to see a better, give me a second here. Slide.
That street goes off of April, it's across the lake from us. It goes into the back of Woodman Park. There's a little parking lot back there. It's close to the baseball diamond.
Tennis courts.
And that's, the event is from noon to 6. We probably won't be out there the entire time because our voices will get tired. And, well, I'm 46 now, not 26, so.
It's in the park.
In Woodman Park?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the range of your speaker system?
Not entirely sure. We have a Bose S1 Pro as well as a half-mile hailer that we tend to daisy chain together and call it that. If I turn it all the way up, I suppose it would reach that far, but we never have. So the objective is to reach into the park so that people can hear us. And I've used it across parking lots before. The best example I have, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Kroger at Murphy's Landing at Southport and Bluff Road and Harding Street over there. But when we had it set up at the one corner and reached across the parking lot, I could barely hear it on the other side of the parking lot. So that's, I don't know exactly how long that parking lot is, but it does reach. It's not overwhelming, but it does reach.
You've got houses there all along,
Yeah.
both sides of that.
Yeah, it's a directional PA. It's an emergency address type system.
Yeah, we won't be preaching back toward the subdivision. We'll be preaching away from it into the park itself. And it's much, much quieter on the back end of it, I guarantee it.
I'm almost there.
How many people would be in your entourage doing it?
Actually doing the preaching,
Well,
or just people, well, we have some people that would be along the street with bottles of water and gospel tracts as well. Some of the one I gave you is one we'll be passing out. There's another one that we often use. How many people? It'll vary. I would expect no more than 10 people.
Not blocking traffic.
No. Not even blocking the sidewalk.
If cars stop for us, we'll have them a gospel tract through the car window, but then they drive on quickly. We are not desirous of blocking traffic at all.
So, next, that gets a little bit better. Here's Everett over here. This is April Drive. Down here. And the entrance to the park's right here.
Right.
You can see my house.
yeah.
And this is the parking lot to the park right here.
I question how effective this will be, and I think, this is a great track. I'm a pastor,
Okay.
and have been for over 40 years here in Greenwood Christian Church. And
So,
I'm sympathetic with what you're trying to do, but I question the effectiveness of it, and the loudspeaker part seems like it's pretty confrontational. Just
So 2 years ago, we did this and they didn't interrupt us. And so we had, I don't know, about 3 or 4 hours out there doing it. One of the things about the way that we do, and I guess the strategy behind it, I'm sorry, should I get up here? Well, the strategy behind it is the loudspeaker is there and there'll be somebody preaching on it. But usually that gets people's attention and they come up and they talk to some of the other people that are standing around, which is why we usually have about 7 or 8, 10 people, something like that. So that's sort of the strategy behind it. And we've had pretty good engagement wherever we go, really. But at the Pride event 2 years ago, we had good engagement there as well.
At this event,
Yes.
That was a couple of years ago. We actually just have a video up on our YouTube page
Yeah.
that has some conversations that we had with some.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Why does it need to be directional with a half mile or more range if the purpose is just to get people as they walk by to engage?
Sure. Well, so the speaker is called the half mile hailer. It doesn't actually go a half a mile. That's just the name of the speaker. That's the brand that it is. But it like he said, this goes across a parking lot or so. You'll hear it, but it won't be necessarily. You're not gonna be able to tell what people are saying at that level. It's gonna be, I mean, what I'm speaking in right now, across the volume that we're hearing in this room is louder than what you would hear it at the end of the parking lot. Does that make sense? So
Why would your purpose be any different than without a speaker? Could you just engage people as they walked in the entrances?
well, the speaker does get their attention, especially since we're set up by the parking lot. When they get out of their car, they kind of look over and they oftentimes will come over and talk with us. Because they haven't got within the range of the speakers of the event, because the speakers that the event are going to be using are way louder than what we have. I mean, what we have is something that I can carry on my hip. There's 2 of them, but we can carry either one of them. One person can easily carry them.
Well, the concern I have is that the amplification to a certain level makes it confrontational, maybe disruptive to people who've already secured the right to use the park. Now, I'm not picking sides here, but that gives me some pause.
Well, sure. The gospel itself by nature is somewhat confrontational. If you're going to tell someone that they're lost in sin and that they're on their way to hell without salvation in Jesus Christ and Him alone, there's no hope for heaven, no hope for eternal life. Now that rubs people the wrong way, at least at first. It certainly did me.
Sure.
But thanks be to God, He saved me, and that gospel call goes out to everyone. Our desire is to do that. The part of the reason why we picked an event like this in particular, and like I mentioned, we've done so at the Indianapolis event years and years and years in a row, is because of the destructive nature of such a sin. And it is something that it destroys one's body. Leviticus 18 talks about sins along these lines being things that God judges nations for. So our hope is people that are involved in it and celebrating such a thing is to hear the gospel and that God would call them out of that darkness into light and break that deception. Our hope is that confrontation by the nature of the gospel, it happens, and that's what God has told us. So.
Yeah, and I hope you don't misconstrue my comments. I'm a Christian. But our role as a board is not to necessarily address those types of issues.
Sure.
And so we've got to just talk about.
It's not the content.
Right, it's not the
We don't have a
content,
problem with
it's the
content.
application to this event.
Not necessarily in my eyes. It's just if it's so loud that it disrupts people living there. There's apartments on the other side. I think you're free to say whatever you want to say. That's free speech. It's guaranteed by the Constitution. You can say anything you want.
Chief, what's your thoughts on the amplification issue?
Well,
Oh, sure.
so I'm in agreement with exactly what you said, Mr. Hoover. I would recommend against the waiver. Their right to free speech is no greater than the party who rented that park's right to assemble peacefully and without disruption. And that is exactly what that's going to be. I can tell you Assistant Chief Bill Ortiz was out there last year. He told me today that he could hear their amplification before he asked them to turn it off on the opposite side of the park. The other thing is, the neighborhoods. Although I can't say we got a complaint last year. I think it was shut down. Sir, I don't know how soon did they?
We were only able to start to talk for maybe 8 minutes, I think is all it was. The year before, we were able to be out there for some time.
So I would anticipate getting complaints from citizens about the noise. They're right to assemble out there on a public sidewalk. We won't interfere with that. That's their constitutional right. But we also have to keep the peace and tranquility, if you will, of the area, of the neighborhood. And I think the assistant chief was there last year speaking to organizers of the event. They found that very disruptive because it was disengaging people's attention from what they were there to do because the sound was so loud and overriding the events inside the festival. Any other questions for me?
I don't have any questions for Chief. Any comments? Is there a motion you wish to make?
I agree with what the chief just said, and I think they have a right to be there, they have a right to speak. The loud speaker to me makes it too confrontational, so I would say no personally.
And I hear what you're saying, Chan, and I guess the only thing maybe a different word I would use would be not confrontational, but disruptive. People may even be in agreement with what the preaching is going on in the houses.
I would be.
But yeah, but still too much. So, well, I'm going to move that we deny the noise waiver request. Further discussion. Council, are you okay with us making that?
Yes, you're required to be content neutral, and I think the way that you would do this, if there was a similar event at Craig Park and somebody at the amphitheater and somebody wanted to set up a speaker with a half-mile range next door, would you approve it? And I think that's the way you analyze it.
Further discussion. Are we now all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Good luck to you. One thing we've done is deny your noise, extended noise amplification. You mean you can't spread the gospel outside the park anyhow?
So I do understand that there's still going to be noise amplification going on there, right? I mean, from the event.
I think there is. I actually don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, they have for the last 2 years anyway.
They have a stage.
There's a stage that haven't heard of.
So they would be able to spread their message with their voice amplification, but we would not be able to spread our message with our voice amplification.
We want to have competing
Sure.
amplification.
Sure.
You're free to use the park whenever you like.
Yeah, you can rent the park.
You want to find out when they're doing it?
I'm sorry.
Next year you want to find out when they're planning it and run it first.
Yeah, all the churches in Johnson County rented a park and Wyoming a couple years in a row, shared the gospel.
Yeah.
Had a good result.
Yeah.
Had a good result from that.
That-
We
that's
didn't have another group there competing.
Yeah, I understand that. But you understand that being content neutral on the kind of content that is being spread there is actually dereliction of duty for this government. Especially since you do have ordinances, city ordinances against things of exposing yourself to children, things like that.
City ordinance that I explored in order to look up the requirement for voice waiver, for example, something that the mayor signed back in 2014. At the very head of the ordinance, it mentions explicitly issues of indecency.
Exactly.
And with regard to what is being celebrated and promoted and talked about in this event, we all know what they're doing, what they're talking about, at the very least, and what they're supporting. They're supporting Sodom. And as Christians, a Christian pastor who has been for many years, we know what the scriptures have to say about it. And we know also what Psalm 2 has to say about such things, that rulers of the world are to bow the knee to the Son of God. So while I understand the jurisdiction that you'll have in the means by which to go about doing them, seeking to be content neutral, seeking to operate by a city code, and those kinds of things, ultimately neutrality doesn't exist. There is either going to be a decision for something or against it. It's either going to be for ultimately the superiority of gospel proclamation or ultimately against it, regardless of who may have rented something out. And I suppose that's all I have to say about that.
And we appreciate your comments. I don't necessarily agree with them, but reflect what we're supposed to do in a government board. But you certainly understand where you're coming. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we're going to move on to Zimmer Village Shops. Andrew Barksey.
How you guys doing this evening? Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, Andrew, we can.
I'm here for the acceptance and execution of the final plat of the Zimmer Village shops. It's located on Madison Avenue at 199, 201, and 229. And then it actually also includes 1 Elm Street. That's that lot 4 that's up there. There's already 4 lots here. What we've done is surveyed it and then cleaned up the lot lines. A lot of them were kind of going through buildings. They've been laying here for a while. And then we've added a little bit more land to the residence of lot 4. So I think everything's in order and we're just here for the acceptance and execution of it.
Paul, you got that for us to I'll move we accept and execute the final minor plat for Zimmer Village Shops.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Very nice. Saw you back there. Good to have you in person. Swartz Crossing Commercial Subdivision.
Wouldn't miss this for the world. Good afternoon.
Well, we would.
Here for the split of Block C in Swartz Crossing Commercial Subdivision, southeast corner of Stones Crossing and State Road 135. Basically taking that 10-acre block and splitting it into a 10-acre, I think I'm right there. No, that's not right. It's an 8-acre, we're splitting it into an 8-acre lot and a 10-acre remainder, so it's about an 18-acre lot, or 18-acre block that we're parceling off. So the plan's been reviewed by staff, comments have been addressed, resubmitted, and Paul was gracious enough to get us on this afternoon's protocol work safety meeting for acceptance. Execution will follow once he takes one last look at it. We'll have paper copies for the signatures.
Okay. And we think we have Paul's memo from?
Yes, everything's good. The revised plan is good, so.
So we can sign it?
Yep.
Okay.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Good evening. Joe Heck, Projects Plus, Barry Chase.
Hello.
Hey, Joe.
Hi there. Joe Heck, Projects Plus. Yeah, here for Barry Chase Section 2. So this is a project that's in the county, but it has city sewer. So we're just here for acceptance of the sewer, acceptance of the performance guarantees, and signing of the plat. That's all tonight.
Maintenance guarantee.
Yes, it's a maintenance guarantee. Yes. Everything
Do I say form?
is good. They have a balance due on the inspection agreement. And then there's a revision they had to make to the maintenance guarantee, but everything else is in order.
Motion subject to.
I would move that we approve subject to taking care of those 2 issues.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, board. Thank you. Bye.
Michael Morgan, first one we've got for Sagemeyer.
Good evening, board. How are you guys tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Hey, just looking for the acceptance of the performance guarantees, the execution, inspection, and testing agreements, and the execution of plat for Sagebriar by Del Webb, Section 10, the Amenity Center.
And Paul, this is subject to approval of your office. It just needs to receive revised performance guarantees. Is that correct?
That is correct. Everything else is good.
Well, I'll make that motion subject to that condition.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Now let's go on to section 2.
Section 2, just looking for the acceptance of improvements, the performance guarantees, and the execution of final plat for War Sagebriar Section 2.
And on this one, the agenda is incorrect. At first, they thought that they might be able to get the sanitary sewer accepted, but that has not been able to be accomplished yet. So actually, they're posting performance guarantees for the sanitary sewer also. So you're just doing number 3 and number 4 on the agenda.
Okay, we're accepting performance
Yes.
guarantees, and executing acceptance and execution of final plat,
Correct.
subject to payment of the 1/3 SAF fee.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, board. Have a good night.
Anyone from the audience wish to address us? We'll go on to Corporation Council status and tabs. Shane?
First up, I have a contract for landscaping, our Mendoza Landscape Contractors, and this is for work being done at the airport in the amount of $14,140.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Second up is consideration of a contract from Chime Master, and this is an electronic device that mimics church bells. And it will be mounted on the roof of this building.
Okay. We've got some information about that. We appreciate Ms. Gibson's input on that. Any questions for Sam or Ms. Gibson? I'll second. Discussion?
What's the purpose? I didn't really read this.
To have pleasant noise downtown Greenwood.
Other than our police chief and our fire chief.
You can have a keyboard if you'd like to.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
can I sing along? Sure. Let them all.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Well, Paul.
Yes.
What you got?
Well, first off is there's 2 encroachment requests. Both are for fences. On the first one, there is a storm sewer running along I believe it's the west property line. It's actually the south property
Are you
line.
talking about Redbud or?
I'm sorry,
Coulter Way?
the Coulter Way.
Okay.
The 5520 Coulter Way. They want to install a fence in their rear yard, and they're encroaching into the drainage and utility easement, and then along either west, south, and north side of the
Paul,
lot.
but does the staff recommend both of these?
Yeah, we do recommend with conditions.
It's on the, do I have it on the docket?
Yeah, I think the procedure normally is if the staff recommends them, then take them together.
Move for approval.
Both of the Coulter Way and Redwood Lane. Second those. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Also to those conditions that are.
The next item is Market Plaza Phase 1, which was constructed last year. And I have not been real involved in this, but apparently they've been trying to get these change orders in place for months with Dave O'Meara Contractor. Finally, we received the change orders. They've been looked over by our inspection team, which is CHA, and also by city staff. And there are 2 different ones. The first change order is in the amount of $38,750 for improvements that had to be done to the parking lot just east of 360 South Madison while they were tying back in. And then the second change order is in the amount of $183,459.29 which had to do with some drain tile repairs, installation of new storm sewer, and then installation of new sanitary sewer main and appurtenances that were found during the construction of this project. They were finding something every day, it seemed like, out there, and had to install new storm sewer and sanitary sewer. So the engineering division is asking that the board approve these two change orders for that project.
These were not things that could have been anticipated in our original.
No, because again, like more or less like what happened in Old Town when they were redoing Maine and Madison. There was not a good mapping system of what was out there, and they just, every day I remember Mark St. John, it seemed like, was going out there because they found something new, trying to tie it down to where it went. They had to do a bunch of bores into the ground to try to figure out where all this drain tile was, so.
It's gotta be done.
Yeah.
There were 6 separate sewer lines. None of them were on the.
Yeah.
I'll vote for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Right.
Thank you. The next item is Country Air, the 2024 CCMG partial reconstruction project, which is over in the Country Air subdivision. During the curb removal at the northeast corner of the project near Spring Meadow Drive in Emerson, while they were removing the curb, one of the storm structures collapsed and it was not able to be repaired. So we've received a price from Howard Companies to remove and dispose of the existing storm sewer structure, and then they'll have to cast in place a new storm sewer structure at that same location. And that dollar amount's $4,950, but it's something that does need to be done and accomplished to keep moving.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
The 2025 hot mix asphalt material bid, this is for the street department, and every year they go out to bid to get the unit prices from different contractors for them to pick up at their plants. And this year we received bids from 4 different contractors, and Milestone Contractors was again the low bid, and actually their pricing increase from last year was very minimal. And the bid has been reviewed by the legal department and found to be in order for Milestone. And the unit prices have been reviewed and found to be acceptable. So we're asking that the hot mix asphalt material bid be awarded to Milestone Contractors and authorize the mayor, deputy mayor to sign the contract.
Find that they are the lowest responsible bidder.
So
Yes, sir.
moved.
Second, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Smith Valley Road, Woodland Boulevard roundabout project. It went out to bid on, in early April. Bids were opened on April 23rd. We received bids from 4 contractors. The first 2 low bidders, Midwest Paving and Calumet Civil Contractors. When they were being reviewed by the legal department, it was found that both of them were not responsive. They either missed items in their bid packet or had some errors in their bids. So the legal department recommended to reject their bids. And then the third low bidder, Milestone, their bid was in order. It was a little bit higher, but still within a 3% of the engineer's estimate. So we're recommending that the award be made to Milestone Contractors for the base bid. And then this is something a little bit different. There was an alternate, and what the alternate was for the center of the roundabout, for some decorative signage or columns to be installed. And this was all at the direction of the Greenwood School Corporation. They wanted to maybe have something nice there for their entrance into the high school there. Well, the school corporation asked the city to include this in the bid to get a price for what this work may cost. So The alternate bid can only be awarded once Greenwood School Corporation finds out what the cost is and lets us know whether they want to move forward with it or not.
They're gonna pay for it.
They will pay for it if they decide
If
to
they
move
think it's
forward.
worth it.
Yeah. So that, I don't know if you want to, I guess, contingent upon the school okay that part of the contract. It's a little bit different.
That's a separate part of the contract, so we could award milestone base contract and award the ultimate number one, subject to approval by the Greenwood Community School Board with funding.
Okay.
That's my motion.
I'll say, yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The last item, we pushed it off for maybe another meeting. We're still looking into that easement. So that is all that I have.
Okay. Great. Anything else? Thank you.
I'll move for approval of claims as presented.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Thank you all. We will stand adjourned at 6:21 PM.